Hello and welcome back to Continental Club, where we discuss the hottest topics in European football. Joining me, yes, it is me under these ridiculous headphones. Grace accidentally took mine to work this morning, so I've got to go with these for one time only. But joining me, welcome back to the show, we've got Chris Hamill, first time in a while. And Chris, you've got a special announcement about our content this weekend.
I have. Before we rip through Continental Club, just a quick note to say we will be supporting the social media boycott like our colleagues over at Sky Sports this bank holiday weekend. So we won't be posting across any of our socials, including YouTube, until Tuesday. Very important that we get behind this and it helps galvanise the football community into making real change. McCubs, talking of real change. Look at that haircut. When did you get that done? Looks smart, mate.
A couple of weeks ago now. Yeah. I'm pretty... Well, I'm not overly happy with it because there are a couple of things I changed about it. That it wasn't really... My sides weren't really blended in with the top very well. So...
Tough customer.
Sometimes it's a little bit of a bowl cut. But nevertheless, for my first proper shorter haircut in over a year... I couldn't really complain, to be honest. I feel 10 stone lighter.
Oh, good stuff. It's always a nice feeling when you get that first haircut in a while, though for me it's just a matter of taking centimetres off rather than inches these days. Anyway, let's get into the show because we have a great one lined up for you today, because award season is coming around. PFA Player of the Year will probably be announced relatively soon in England. So Kareem_Arib said who have been the best players in each of Europe's top 5 leagues. So we're going to go through Spain, Italy, Germany, France, put out the best players, hopefully, with a range of positions as well, and talk a little bit about who have been the stars of the 2020-21 season. We've mainly focused on their performance in the domestic leagues, but we might sprinkle in a bit of Champions League and Europa League as well. McCubs, we're going to kick off in Spain, where we've got one hell of a title race, but it feels like, with his performances in the last few months, that one player's probably been the outstanding player once again.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to look past Lionel Messi. I feel like with all of these, with all of Europe's top 5 leagues, there has been the kind of classic, perhaps with the exception of Italy, it's kind of hard to look past the players who have been among the best, or if not the best, for the last few years anyway. But yeah, I mean, we wouldn't have thought at the start of the season that we'd be once again tipping Lionel Messi as the best player in the league. At least on form, because he started the season so poorly. I've never seen Messi start a season so badly, in fact, and it was understandable because obviously last summer was the most tumultuous of his Barcelona career. Obviously, coming out of that first kind of lockdown of the pandemic, and then the dispute with Josep Bartomeu, and then the interview that he gave, which I think split the opinion of fans. I don't think opinion had ever been that split on Lionel Messi among Barcelona fans, who obviously until last summer unconditionally adored him. So yeah, I mean, for a player who had been gearing up essentially to leave the club that had made him, and he'd been with since he was 12, 13 years old. Yeah, I mean, in some ways it isn't that surprising that he had a bit of a dip at the start of the season, but it was still a pretty significant dip. I think he had 8 goals and 2 assists in his first 16 games for Barca, which is fine for a ton of attacking players, but is incredibly bad by his standards. And I think I can't remember that there was a period where I think he didn't score for 6 games in a row or something, which is just unheard of for him. It might have even been more than that. It felt like October, November, that he just wasn't affecting games anywhere near as well as he has in the past. And I mean, and partly that was kind of masked by Ansu Fati, who started the season so well and actually looked better than Messi in many games. But obviously Fati's injury meant that responsibility really did fall on him, and since the turn of the year especially, he's been just back to his best, hasn't he? So by the middle of December, Barcelona were 12th in the league. Since then, Messi scored 25 goals in 9 and got 9 assists in 26 games in all competitions. That's obviously helped Barca to within touching distance of the title. They'll be top if they win tonight. We filmed this on a Thursday, so who knows? Maybe there'll be another twist and they'll lose. But nevertheless, Messi has really spearheaded that resurgence, hasn't he? And obviously won the Copa del Rey as well, and scored one of his best goals of recent years in the final. So yeah, I mean, he's as important to this side as he's ever been, really. His numbers are still ridiculous. He's taking 5.6 shots per 90. I think that's the best in La Liga, if I'm not mistaken. He's creating over 2 chances. He's completing 4.4 dribbles. His expected goals and assists per 90 stands at 1.13, which is roughly where it's kind of been for the last few years. He leads Spain for shots. He actually leads Spain for key passes as well, which I'm pretty surprised by, actually, that there's no one creating more chances per game, or creating more chances than 2.3 per game. Dribbles, progressive passes into the penalty area, also ranks 4th for passes into the final third, which, these are all things that we expect of him, but considering how lackluster his performances were at the start of the season, it's pretty exceptional that he's made up that ground. But enough about Messi, because I think we can speak about him forever, can't we? Like, everyone knows how good he is. There are a few other shouts, I think, who perhaps can't stand up to him numbers wise, but have had really, really good seasons. And I think we've got to start with his teammate Frankie Deyoung, who obviously had a bit of a disappointing first campaign under Valverde and Quique Setien. And I guess that was it. Last season was quite a difficult one for Barcelona in general, wasn't it? First of all, they were playing some pretty poor football at the start of the term, and then Setien just couldn't settle on a fixed system. Frankie Deyoung didn't look anywhere near as dominant as he had been in his Ajax days, and I think that's understandable as well. He's a young midfielder coming to a top 5 league for the first time, but he's been so good this season, hasn't he? Really been key to Ronald Koeman's success. 7 goals and 8 assists in 46 games. He ranks 7th for progressive passes, 5th for passes into the final third. And I think his versatility has been what's really shone. Like, he's looked just as good at linking up play on the edge of the area and providing that kind of conduit to Messi, and linking up with Alba as well. But equally, he's been kind of transformative as that kind of central link in the back three, hasn't he? And progressing play from deep. So I think that's what's been incredibly impressive about him. I don't think we even saw that level of versatility when he was at Ajax, to be honest. Marcos Llorente is also a player who we talked about earlier in the season. I think he's arguably been Atleti's best player across the campaign. They've had a very poor second half of the season. Obviously, they've dropped points in 8 of their last 14 La Liga games. The title now doesn't look necessarily in their hands. But Llorente has carried on the form that he was displaying at the end of last season, hasn't he? 12 goals, 11 assists in 40 games in all competitions. He's really been vital to that midfield finally looking like it can kind of thrust forward again, and provide that link between the defence and the attack. He's just such a great technical operator. His defensive work has also been vital to that side as well. So I imagine, without him in that side, I just can't see Atleti even being anywhere near the title this season. But I think another shout out has to go to, 2 strikers. First of all, Karim Benzema, who's been arguably as important to Real Madrid as Messi is to Barcelona in the last couple of years. Let's face it, the evidence was there against Chelsea the other night, and I know the rest of the team weren't necessarily performing as well as they have done otherwise in the last couple of months, but Benzema was carrying that side and was the only source of inspiration. I think he's got 21 goals and is it 9 assists, if I'm not wrong? It might be less than 9 assists, like but once again been excellent. I think he's scored, I think this is the 3rd season in a row where he scored 20 plus goals in La Liga, and for context, I think in the 9 years before that he'd only done it twice. So it just goes to show how important he continues to be for Real Madrid, and I think replacing him will be an even tougher ask arguably than replacing Ronaldo at the Bernabeu once he does leave. So massive shout out to him. But Gerard Moreno, I think, has also got a big shout. I think perhaps he hasn't been talked about as much because Villarreal aren't in the mix for Champions League football anymore. But I think we spoke about him at the start of the season, about a player who we thought was, was potentially going to be one of the standout players this campaign, and he really has been. 20 goals and 5 assists in 28 league games. He's got another 8 goal contributions in the Europa League as well. Obviously, Villarreal still with a very good shout of glory in that competition. And only Messi can top his 0.993 expected goals and assists per 90. He really is one of the outstanding all-round centre forwards in Europe right now, Gerard Moreno. And it's going to be really exciting to see him lead the line for Spain at the Euros as well. So yeah, massive shout out to him, because at 29 years old, he's a player who is still improving. And yeah, just a great centre forward to watch.
Yeah, he's been absolutely magnificent. I'm intrigued to see how Villarreal get on against Arsenal in the Europa League tonight. Of course, by the time this gets to you guys will know the results of that. But him and Samuel Chukwueze, I think they can cause Arsenal some serious problems. So it'll be really exciting to see. But as we know, in La Liga, it's the Messi show. It continues to be at 33. What a player to watch. He's put together a spectacular end of this season. And if they win La Liga, it will be largely down to him, although the improved performances of Griezmann, De Jong, Dembele, etc. deserve shouts as well. Let's move over to Italy, Chris, because although the title race looks although the title race looks sewn up with Inter Milan, we've got a serious race for the Champions League spots and some outstanding candidates for Player of the Year in Italy.
I am absolutely loving the run-in Serie A at the moment. It's absolute chaos, isn't it? Of course, Inter Milan have peeled away. They're 11 points clear of Atalanta, who, if they finish second themselves, will secure a historic finish, won't they? So what a season that would have been for Gasparini's men. Napoli, back in the Champions League places from, I'm not going to say nowhere, but they were definitely trailing for the majority of the season, weren't they? Juventus, not falling by the wayside, but massively inconsistent. I think only one victory in their last 3. And Milan, AC Milan though, are now 5th. It now looks like they may miss out on Champions League football after leading for 22 match weeks. So it is absolute chaos. Lazio bringing up the rear as well. Of course, they smacked AC Milan 3-0. I think that was the Joaquin Correa show. So there is just no gimmies in terms of the last 2 Champions League places. It's going to be really hotly contested. And yeah, all teams a little bit inconsistent. But one man who has been extremely consistent, who I think we've enjoyed seeing his remontada, haven't we? His renaissance in the last 2 years, because he left English shores probably with a sour taste in his mouth. And that is Romelu Lukaku. And he's just got better and better following that €80 million move from Manchester United. 27 goals and 8 assists in 40 games in all competitions this season for Inter. No one tops his 30 goal contributions. That's 21 goals and 9 assists. Ronaldo's second on 28. Now his underlying numbers, good. They show a guy who's improved his all-round game, right? He still might be running a little bit hot. 2.7 shots, 1.7 key passes, 1.7 dribbles, and his XG plus A, I think, is 0.98 per game, which is up from last year and definitely a career high. So he's in his pomp. I'm glad he's enjoying himself. He's no longer just a one-trick pony. He's very good at holding it up. He can collect it from deep. He's been great at sort of running at defences this term as well. And yeah, responsible for 42% of Inter's goals. It's ridiculous. Some other shouts that I've got in there for you. Rodrigo De Paul, who of course was denied a move to Leeds because Udinese wanted €40 million for his services, and Leeds understandably weren't willing to shell that out. I mean, he's been terrific again for Udinese, hasn't he? 8 goals and 7 assists in 31 league games this term. I think it's team leading, and he's completed 15 more dribbles than anyone else in the league. Second for key passes behind Çalhanoğlu as well, who's had a bit of a renaissance this season too, because he was the forgotten man for a long time at AC, wasn't he? It looked like he was a bit of a waste of money from Leverkusen, but has come good this campaign. Nicolo Barella, probably the most well-rounded central midfielder in Serie A, I would say. Quite a bold statement. But he's been outstanding this term. 8 goal contributions, putting a man of the match performance against Inter's vital 2-0 victory over Juventus. And then to sprinkle some other names on top of the Romelu Lukaku, who is holding the crown. Luis Muriel, like, what a season he's having. And what's been really impressive about his season is the way that Gasperini has managed his time. Like, a couple of weeks ago, he was given a couple of weeks off, for example, and he's only made, I think, 15 starts, but he's got 19 goals, 8 assists. And we know that the forwards at Atalanta all have very good numbers. I mean, Ilicic has barely played. I think he's got a goal contribution per game. Malinovsky's come in for Papu Gomez, who was deemed irreplaceable at one point and has put up nearly a goal contribution per game. So they're crushing Serie A. That whole forward line, absolutely electric. But I also want to shout out a little-known striker for Crotone called Simi. A Nigerian striker was kicking about the Legia Pro, which is the second division in Portugal, as well as the Liga NOS. Not exactly setting the top tier on fire. It was a good Legia Pro? Yeah, I think it is Legia Pro striker. But he scored 19 goals for Crotone this term, which is ridiculous, given they are rooted to the bottom of the league. So if we're looking for guys that are really carrying their side or are putting in a disproportionate amount of effort and getting those results in return, then Simi at Crotone, go check him out. He's 28, but I think he's probably bought himself a move with the performances this term. So yeah, delighted for him. We could talk about Teo Hernandez, but AC Milan have dropped off a little bit. There's Dusan Vlahovic as well at Fiorentina. He scored that wonderful Panenka a couple of weeks ago against Juventus, didn't he? Although Morata probably overshadowed that with an unbelievable goal off the bench. And yeah, people like Insigne, Mertens still killing it. I think that's probably it. I think that's my whirlwind tour of star players in Serie A. If I've missed any out, please let me know in the comments, Duke. But over to you for Germany, mate.
Yeah, I really enjoy. I mean, I'm like you. I've really enjoyed Serie A this year. I feel like there's a lot of very similar level sides, with one very good side in Inter Milan, and then sort of 5 or 6 sides below that who are, pretty interchangeable as well. Lazio have come into good form in recent weeks as well. Sergej Milinkovic-Savic has been brilliant. But let's head over to Germany, because a bit like with Lukaku and a bit like with Messi, we can't not mention Lewandowski. The guy has got 36 goals and 6 assists in 26 Bundesliga games this term. That is absolutely ridiculous. And if it wasn't for that injury that saw him miss 6 games prior to returning at the weekend against Mainz, he was on to break Gerd Muller's scoring record in Germany as well. But he came back and he scored in a 2-1 defeat. And Bayern haven't really been at their best this year as well. They've lost 4 league games and they've conceded 40 league goals, which is only the 5th best record in the division. So, Lewandowski's goals are probably the most important factor around that 9th straight title, which they'll probably wrap up this weekend. They're now 7 points clear of Leipzig. And if you break it down, if you want to go into his numbers as well, 1.25 expected goals and assists per 90, which is the best record in Europe. Just quite frankly a ridiculous strike. Got it all, great anticipation, can bully defenders, surprisingly quick as well. And if he played against PSG in the quarterfinals, I think we'd be seeing Bayern versus Man City right now in the semi-finals. He really is that crucial.
On international duty as well. That's what's been most disappointing about his season. Stupid, backlog of fixtures, internationally speaking.
Yeah, 100%. That March, I think it was a friendly as well. I think it was against Andorra, just a bit unnecessary, and lost a chance of securing a record that could have stood for years and years. But anyway, other shouts. 26-year-old teammate Joshua Kimmich deserves a little shout out as well. 3 goals and 10 assists in 24 league games as well. Quite frankly, ridiculous from central midfield. I think he's been probably the outstanding central midfielder in Europe this year. I mean, if you don't count KDB as a central midfielder, then definitely. 3 tackles and interceptions, averages nearly 3 key passes per game, gets off nearly 2 shots a game as well. Just a fantastic all-round footballer. And when you watch Bayern Munich, it's actually Kimmich that stands out rather than Lewandowski. Lewandowski gets the goals, but it's Kimmich that really is that world-class operator. I mean, they've got world-class operators all over, but that really creme de la creme. Other shouts, obviously got to mention Erling Haaland and Andre Silva, both 25 league goals each. They've been phenomenal. Thomas Müller, another magnificent campaign, 10 goals and 17 assists. Those numbers just keep creeping up without ever really noticing Thomas Müller. his output is exceptional as well.
The assists are ridiculous, aren't
yeah,
they?
I mean, he contributed 29 last year as well. So at 31 years old, he's just not slowing down whatsoever. Also want to give a shout out to one of my favourite players in the Bundesliga, Philipp Kostic at Eintracht Frankfurt. He's been absolutely brilliant. They're now fourth, Frankfurt. They're 1 point ahead of Dortmund. They've obviously got Adi Hütter, who's leaving, who's going to Gladbach. There is a real merry-go-round in the Bundesliga in terms of managers next year. But Kostic has put together another phenomenal campaign. He's obviously dealt with Haller and Jovic leaving a couple of years ago, and they've formed a new triumvirate around Andre Silva and Daichi Kamada, and Kostic has just been phenomenally consistent for a few years now, and he's provided 4 goals and 12 assists. He leads the Bundesliga for key passes, and he's second for passes into the penalty area behind Jadon Sancho, who has also picked up form after a dodgy start to the season as well. In terms of an underrated player, I can't say I've seen a lot of this guy, but his stats are really impressive. He's called Elias Chakri. He's got 5 goals and 2 assists in 30 games for Köln as a CDM, but he's averaging 5.2 tackles and interceptions per 90 with an 87% pass accuracy, and he's completed the most tackles and interceptions in the division. So this is someone maybe to watch for maybe a little summer transfer this year. Having not seen him play all that much, I can't really tell you too much about him, but I just thought he was worth a shout. Elias Chakri, maybe one to keep an eye on. McCubs, let's move over to France, because obviously we watched Man City versus PSG last night, and one man who had a pretty quiet game by all accounts was Kylian Mbappe, but he has been phenomenal in the league.
Yeah, he's been brilliant. Obviously, you know, he continues to be the guy up top. Obviously, like if Neymar was had a better fitness record, I think there would be a bit more of a you know, it wouldn't be as clear. But Kylian Mbappe is their best player, isn't he? Like, he is the one who is playing most games and is contributing the most. 25 goals and 7 assists in 29 league games is 7 more contributions than the next best, who's Memphis Depay, and I think Depay has played 150 more minutes than him or something like that as well. He's taken 3.1 shots, 1.2 key passes, completing 3.5 dribbles, which are all like, they're all numbers that you kind of expect to see from Mbappe at this point. But nevertheless, he's having, you know, he's clearly the best player in that league, and I don't even think if he looks back on this season, he'll be like, oh, this is, you know. This was an exceptional season for me. I feel like this is already the kind of base of what we'd expect from Kylian Mbappe, which just goes to show that really, in the next 2-3 years, he really does need that move to La Liga or Premier League, I think. But I don't know, Dukes, who's been your favourite? Because I know obviously PSG aren't even, you know, in pole position to win the league right now. Obviously Lille have been excellent and you know, are top of the league at the moment. Is there anyone from you know, the Lille ranks who you think's your standout player? We've
mentioned him a few times on Continental Clubs recently, and I think Benjamin Andre in central midfield has been absolutely massive for them. Boubakary Soumaré has been the more progressive player alongside him, but Benjamin Andre and Renato Sanchez form that really solid base as well. Third for tackles in the whole of Liga, reads the game really well. Third for interceptions too. And then a little sort of more rogue shout is Aurélien Tchouameni, who has been brilliant for Monaco. Bit of a bolter really. Came from Bordeaux last summer. He's only 20 years old. He's got 2 goals and 3 assists, but over 5.4 tackles and interceptions, and creating having 1.5 shots per 90 as well. So definitely one for the future. He's been crucial behind Monaco's unlikely title bid this year. I mean, Chris, one player who looks like he's leaving Lyon is Memphis Depay, and you know, it looks like Lyon aren't going to win the title now, but he's bowing out, having put together a magnificent campaign.
Good. I'm glad he's leaving, because I'm sick of talking about where he potentially might go in the off season. Christ, the amount of videos and thumbnails we've produced of him in Barcelona kits is bored the tits off of me.
It's saved us on many occasions.
Yeah, so hopefully it does go. And then, you know, Pat can't just use it as a default answer for every how to fix we produce as well. 18 goals, 9 assists, just ridiculous. And I think he's one of 5 players in Europe to put up over 2 shots per game, over 2 key passes per game, and completing over 2 dribbles, along with Rodrigo De Paul, who we mentioned prior. So, like McCubbin said about Mbappe, these are numbers we've come to expect from Depay. Like, he is that caliber of player, and I think, you know, if he does go to Barcelona, okay, he's going to have to learn a new system. He's going to have to cater to Lionel Messi, but I think that'd be a very welcome addition to their forward line at the moment. Ousmane Dembele, of course, like, has had a much better season, but still can't be fully relied upon fitness-wise. Antoine Griezmann has kind of not stumbled across the double digits goal scoring line for the first time, but it's still not prolific in the way that Suarez was when he was complimenting Messi or even Neymar, right? Although we had a couple of down seasons as well. Shout out to Mike Maignan as well, Lille, 78% save percentage, second only to Keylor Navas. I think you mentioned that on the stream last night, Dukes. 18 clean sheets this season, just ridiculous. So he deserves a big shout out as well, and he looks like he's on the move, doesn't he? So yeah, I think that's France done.
Yeah. I mean, France, we've got great title races in La Liga and France as well. Guys, we want to hear from you, though. Who do you think is going to win in France and La Liga? Get those thoughts in the comments down below. And let us know if we've missed anyone. Maybe some underrated defenders, maybe some more wing-backs. We tend to prioritise, obviously, the players that get the big numbers. But let us know if we've missed anyone. And let's move on to our big match preview. So this weekend there aren't actually any fixtures in the Bundesliga. Sassuolo versus Atalanta is probably the biggest in Serie A. So that gave us the choice between Liga, where third place Monaco play fourth place Lyon. But we talked about that league last week with Lille versus PSG. So instead we're going to focus on Valencia versus Barcelona, which could have a massive bearing on the title race. As we film this, as we said earlier, Barcelona are third and Valencia are 14th. But Barcelona play Granada tonight on Thursday night, so they could be top by the time where you watch this, but we don't quite know. This game, though, kicks off at 8 p.m. on Sunday. Let's kick off with the hosts, Valencia McCubs, because it's been a pretty horrible season for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were expecting a pretty horrible season, weren't we? Obviously, last summer was just potentially the worst of Peter Lim's ownership, wasn't it? I mean, it was just ridiculous. You know, their best players getting sold off at cheap prices, protests during what was during a pandemic. His daughter who was messaging out saying that they could do whatever they want and whatnot, and it's after a season in which their president, I think he's their president, Murty, was sent death threats and whatnot. So I mean, the atmosphere at Valencia has been toxic for quite a while now. Javi Gracia, I think he kind of knew what he was getting himself in for, but even then was threatening to resign as early as October, wasn't he? So I mean, the club's been
shambles.
pretty a shambles from top to bottom. But actually, the first bit of the season, I think their form was all right, but it's definitely petered out. They had 3 wins in 5 games between the 20th of February and the 21st of March, but that's been followed by 5 winless games. They've only picked up 3 points from a possible 15. They're now 14th. They're on 36 points, which is 7 clear of relegation with 4 games to go. So they probably will be fine. But that certainly hasn't been the feeling for the entire season. And they're on track to finish with 41 points, which is 12 fewer than last season when they finished 9th. That would actually be their lowest total since 1994-95, which is before they introduced 3 points for a game. Which is just so bad, isn't it? I shouldn't laugh because obviously this is a historic club with a brilliant fan base, but it is just amazing how a club who have had some of the best players in the league over the last 10 years and should be fine continue to flounder. Their 13 defeats is already their level with their lowest with their total from 2019-20. They haven't lost more in a season since 2016-17 when they had 3 different managers. So it's not like it's totally unprecedented, but I think overall you'd struggle to find a season in which Valencia fans were less inspired by this side. It's obvious where their problems are, though, isn't it? Attacking wise, they're not too bad. They've scored 41 goals, which is just 1 fewer than 6th place Real Betis. It's the 8th best in the league. Not amazing, not terrible, but they've conceded 48, which is the 4th worst in the league. No team has conceded more than their 14 shots per game. They're running a 3.3 deficit every single game in that sense, so they're constantly being outshot. And yeah, that defence just seems to lack kind of effort a lot of the time. They rank 19th for tackles per game, so they're just letting opposition attacks through so much, which is a shame considering you've got a player like Jose Gaia in there who's obviously been such a great servant to them and remains one of their hardest working players. Carlos Soler is the only player to score over 5 league goals. Him, Gaia, and Guedes and Kang and Lee are the only players to provide over 1 assist. Only 3 players in Soler, Vass, and Gaia have created over 30 chances, and they take 47% of their shots from outside the box as well, which is also the worst record in the league in that sense. So there's a number of areas where they've underperformed. There's been hope around players like Yunus Musa and Kang In Lee, but they only have 5 goal contributions between them all season, and they have received significant minutes as well. And that's not to take away from them, but it's just to show, I think, how dire the problems are at Valencia, that even their most promising players, even if they shouldn't have a ton of pressure on them at the moment, aren't exactly lighting up the competition. It's just been incredibly depressing, I think, for Valencia fans this season. Mundo Deportivo are claiming they'll definitely sack Gracia this summer. I think that's probably to be expected, isn't it? And apparently Rafa Benitez is favourite to replace him, which would be quite a turn up for the books. We were discussing off camera just before how absurd it is that Rafa Benitez could be taking a job with Peter Lim, having worked with Mike Ashley already. Seems like a bit of a masochistic move, but he does have a great history there. Obviously, he won 2 La Ligas. He won a UEFA Cup there as well between 2001 and 2004. That was the job that propelled him to the elite, into the kind of elite group of managers in Europe. Obviously, led to that Liverpool job where he won a Champions League within a year. So that would be what a homecoming that would be if he could come back and actually galvanise this squad. And he does have experience of being a firefighter, as we saw with Newcastle. He did a tremendous job there. So I mean, I think if I was a Valencia fan, I would be absolutely welcoming that, especially considering that in the last few years they've had the most success with a kind of defence-minded manager like Marcelino. Rafa Benitez, I think, offers a very similar kind of skill set and vision, and will certainly be able to get the best out of what remains still a decent middling La Liga squad, isn't it? They shouldn't be in a relegation fight even without a number of those players who they sold last summer. So as for this game, I can't see it being anything other than a Barcelona win, but I expect it's going to be another summer of kind of change at Valencia.
Yeah, I mean, it's bound to be. It's and it's interesting you mentioned Marcelino there. It's only a couple of years ago that they finished 4th, and then the following year I think they finished 5th and won the Copa del Rey, and now they're just an absolute joke. And we've seen lots of people complain about ownership in England recently, and Man United and Arsenal in particular, but Peter Lim has just he's turned Valencia into a complete shambles in the last few years, giving jobs to managers that he's got personal links with, chopping and changing managers, selling his best player on a free last summer in Dani Parejo, leaving him in tears at a press conference, his daughter attacking the fans. I feel really sorry for fans of Valencia, and I hope they can come back, but it looks like it's going to be difficult in this game, Hamill, because Barcelona have been awesome recently.
Yeah, actually Marcelino finished 4th in both seasons.
Was it 4th?
Became very personal between them, didn't it? Also, the new Mestalla has been hanging around their neck, so to speak, for a long time, and I think the council are ensuring that they crack on with that now. But then, of course, the pandemic hit. So, although I'm not giving Peter Lim excuses, nothing's really going their way at current, is it? But he has been the architect for a lot of that, at least on the pitch. Yeah, like you said, in contrast to Valencia, Barcelona enjoying an unbelievable run of form. Just 1 loss in their last 19 league games. And that was, of course, against Real Madrid in the Clásico, wasn't it? They're actually playing Granada tonight. Obviously, we're filming this a day in advance so we can get it out to you on Friday. So if they do beat Granada, they'll go top of the league, won't they? Not only that, they've overcome bad results in domestic cup competitions as well, haven't they? Overcoming that 2-0 first leg defeat to Sevilla in the Copa del Rey. They went through 3-2 in the end. They beat Athletic Club 4-0 in the final, lifting their first piece of silverware since 2019. And the recovery job in the league has just been superb. I mean, they were 7 points behind after just 10 match weeks. That slow start did coincide with Messi's slow start and the club, becoming a little bit more of a harmonious place once more. But yeah, everyone's pulling in the same direction now. And I was digging out Griezmann prior, but he's sort of joined the party as well now, hasn't he? I think he's got 8 goals in his last 10 games for club and country, 4 in his last 3 for Barcelona, including 1 mesmeric chip against Villarreal. So he's had some nice moments this season. I still think his output is not of the level, and he is quite replaceable at current, but become a much more coherent part of that forward line. And Barcelona, but judging by the underlying numbers, are the best team in Spain right now. I mean, they average the most shots per game, they concede the fewest, they're the best according to expected points, if you want to read into that a little bit more, 5 points ahead of Real Madrid. So it would be a deserved league title. Of course, Sevilla are creeping up on everyone as well. That's really interesting. There's still a big game to come against Atletico Madrid at the Camp Nou, isn't there? So there's going to be some twists and turns yet in this La Liga title race. But yeah, Koeman has done such a good job, and we were all sort of putting a bit of a downer on his employment at the start of the season, and he's really held it together and deserves an awful lot of credit, and I'm eating my words from the start of the season.
Yeah, we should all take a slice of that humble pie. I don't think anyone was particularly in favour of it, and it didn't look good in October, November time. It looked like he might lose his job, but fantastic turnaround, moving to a 3 at the back system, the introduction of the likes of Pedri this season. I think he's done a great job, and after they take on Atletico Madrid, they've got a fairly favourable run in as well. It's Levante, Celta Vigo, then Eibar. So they're pretty strong favourites to now win their 27th La Liga title and their 5th in the last 7 years. So pretty impressive stuff from Barcelona. In terms of injuries for this game, well, Valencia, the only person missing for them is Jasper Cillessen, who's been out for most of this year anyway. So it'll be, I think he's called Dominic, continuing to deputise in goal. For Barcelona, Coutinho and Braithwaite are out. Messi, Griezmann, De Jong and Mingueza are at risk of suspension if they pick up another yellow card. So maybe they'll want to avoid getting a yellow card in this one so they don't miss that Atleti game. Maybe pick one up in the Atleti game so that then they miss Levante. There'll be some sort of tactical needed there, because you don't want Messi missing for that Atletico Madrid game. That is absolutely crucial. Valencia, interestingly, in terms of head-to-head, have only lost one of their last 6 matches against Barcelona, but they'd only beaten them once in the previous 12 up to that point. And they drew 2-2 at the Nou Camp in the reverse fixture. But I can't really see anything other than a Barcelona win here. McCubs, what's your score prediction?
Yeah, I'm going to say 2-1 Barca.
2-1. Hamel, what do you reckon?
I think Barca are going to decimate them 4-1.
4-1, I love it. I'm going 3-0. Very comfortable. We don't know how they played against Granada tonight, obviously, but we're all going for a Barcelona win. Get your score predictions in the comments down below, and let's quickly move on to a very rapid quickfire question. Our quickfire question comes in from regular contributor Swagato is back. Thank you very much, Swagato. He says, thoughts on Bayern and Leipzig's upcoming seasons? Because, Chris, there's been managerial changes at both clubs.
Yeah, just continuity at RB Leipzig. Jesse Marsch now, I think, has been confirmed as Julian Argusman's successor, which makes perfect sense, right? Because he's well versed in the whole philosophy that they've employed throughout their 5 to 7 clubs globally. That Ralf Rangnick installed way back when, and yeah, in many ways, a similar theme at Bayern, in that they've pilfered their biggest rivals for a talismanic figure in the form of Julian Argusman, and I think he signed a 5-year deal actually, which is the biggest new contract they've given to an incoming manager ever. So a huge vote of confidence for Bayern from Bayern Munich, and they clearly see him as a guy that is going to be there for the long term. And I think they were also thinking about the opportunity loss. If they didn't get him, someone else would, and then they've got to find a manager capable of being there for 3 to 5 years, and there's not many of them around right now, is there?
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting Bundesliga season actually, because all the top clubs have changed manager, McCubs. I mean, Dortmund, Gladbach, Frankfurt, Bayern, Leipzig, obviously. I mean, do you see any side being able to deal with this Bayern juggernaut with Nagelsmann in charge?
Probably not. Let's face it.
Yeah.
We saw Nagelsmann when he came into Leipzig. Like, he had an instant effect. He had an instant effect when he went to Hoffenheim. He's not really been one for slow starts. And now he's coming into the best equipped club side in Germany. Arguably, top 2-3 best equipped club sides in world football. He's following, Upamecano there. Obviously, Alaba and Jerome Boateng are leaving this summer, so there's a little bit of a transition to be made in the defence. Equally, he's already got Nicolas Sula there. He's already got Luca Hernandez there. Obviously, added Upamecano into the mix, who has shown himself to be an incredibly adaptable centre-back at Leipzig. And, that problem is basically all sorted. All that needs to happen is for that back line to play together, on a consistent basis, and I'm sure they will thrive. So yeah, I mean, and we've seen obviously the attacking output that he gets from all over his squads, and you have a Bayern Munich side which has already kind of been making that kind of transition under Hansi Flick. Obviously, he had quite a transformative effect on them when he came in. Thomas Müller continues to, like we were talking about earlier, continues to belie his age with the kind of output he's been putting out in the last 18 months. I guess what I'd hope is that a player like Leroy Sané, who I think by all accounts has had quite a disappointing first year at Bayern, I would back Nagelsmann to get him back to his best. So yeah, in short, Bayern are winning a 10th Bundesliga title this time next year.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. I'm sorry if you can hear a leaf sweeper just outside my room right now. It's perfect timing for the end of the show, but I'll keep this very short. Yeah, I mean, just credit to Nagelsmann for creating one of the best defences in the league this year as well. I think it is by far the best, actually. So he's not just, that attacking manager goat. I think he's a really well-rounded manager, and it's a credit to him that he's managed to rise to Bayern Munich so quickly. But guys, that's all we've got time for on Continental Club this week, as absolute chaos ensues outside my bedroom window. We obviously don't have any content for you this weekend. As Chris said at the top of the show, we are supporting Sky's boycott in order to make a change about how social media platforms control or eradicate racism, is a much better word than control. So yeah, we'll see you on Tuesday. But Chris, there's plenty of great content that we put out this week.
There is. Be sure to go and check out We Need to Talk on Football Daily. They'll be going live a similar time to this. And yeah, go and check out the backlog of Explains on both channels, particularly the one about how the ESL would have destroyed UEFA. A slightly different angle, a slightly different take on the news that we've been bored to death with over the last week and a half.
Nice. Anything from you, McCubs?
No, not really. Go and subscribe to the podcast channel. Go and follow us on Snapchat if you haven't done so already as well. We put out videos on there every day. So yeah, just get hooked in on all our platforms.
Perfect. Have a great bank holiday if you're based in England. Have a great weekend if you're anywhere else, and we'll see you on Tuesday. Bye.